Welcome back to Four Titles, One Truth, where you'll always get real talk from two men who lived it.
And today we're setting the record straight, talking about the myths, the misunderstandings, and the pure Hollywood lies civilians sometimes believe about military life.
And we ain't going to just call them lies, but we're going to call them blown out of proportion, all right?
Oh, okay.
So if you've ever been asked, did you really have to crawl through barbed wire every day? This one's for you.
Okay, let's get into it.
All right, I'll start this one off.
Okay.
What are some common misconceptions civilians have about military service?
Okay. So a big one I would say would be PTSD. I think everybody is crazy.
Yeah.
Everybody
Just because you
been
served.
through some stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'll give you that one.
probably another one is we're not educated.
Yeah.
And I mean I can tell you, especially in the medical service, medical fields, we got some highly educated folks running around there. I mean, they have their PhDs and some of the fellowships and places these folks go. I mean, that's one, and I give a third because I don't want to take them all up from you, but that we don't appreciate being saying thank you, and that's absolutely not the case. It's just
Unusual.
It's just some of it can be excessive sometimes that you just like, but no, everybody likes to be appreciated because we're in a community that is less than 0.5% of the population had done less than you can say, be generous and say less than 1% of people have served in the military out of 330, 40, 50 million people that we have living here. So we are in a unique little niche.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'll let you what you got because I got some more. I mean, we can go.
Well, I'll just say this, right? The biggest misconception for me is that civilians, they don't take in the evolution of the military. So they are stuck in the military that they grew up in, which was also didn't take into consideration the evolution. What I mean by that is, like Lance mentioned, most sergeant majors have at least a master's.
Yep.
Most sergeant majors. So that's not even talking about the officer side that has to have a bachelor's to be an officer. Mm-hmm. So, and then the people that take it up, like a lot of sergeants and below have bachelor's degrees.
Yep.
So, like you said, we're not dummies in the military. We just chose a different path.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then the second thing is that every soldier is a lethal killer. We are absolutely trained in basic combat, right? But there's levels to this thing here.
Yeah.
Not everybody is a Hawkeye killer.
Yeah, everybody's
shooting
not
40 out of
weapon.
40. Yeah. Not everybody is level 12 of combatives, jujitsu, and ready to take you out with a napkin.
Yeah, everybody's not a SEAL. Everybody's not a ranger. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, there's levels, but everybody is trained to.
Yes.
The bottom line of fighting in the military is you're supposed to be able to sustain a fight until your battle buddy arrives. Mm-hmm. So that means hugging them and holding them, or that means taking them out, right? So that's the levels to this thing. And there are steps that you can take to improve your physical fitness, your physical combat capabilities, as well as everything, wrestling, boxing. The Army has all of that.
All of that.
Yeah. And since you named three, I'll name three.
Go ahead. It's a lot.
Yeah. I'll say that a lot of civilians, they're so familiar with the rank of captain and sergeant that you forget or you don't understand the different levels to the rank structure. Captain to you is like, oh my gosh, right? Because captain in the Army is one thing, captain in the Navy is a completely different thing. And so there's a misconception of the ranks and the progression and the effort it takes to excel and achieve those ranks. It's I don't think civilians put it in the context of their fields, right?
Hollywood doesn't help.
Yeah, track, 100%, 100%. And speaking of Hollywood, another thing I don't like, but I understand some portion of it, is they're not able to copy a military uniform 100%. There has to be differences. But some of the differences they choose to represent military folks in the movies and TVs is disappointing.
They can wear it correctly. I mean, they don't have to. I mean, because sometimes the way that they wear them,
is
you're like,
comedic
what
to the military.
in the hell?
And it's hurtful sometimes.
It is.
Yeah, and it takes away from the reality of the actor and you believing that they're this whatever.
Yes.
You know, I saw episode of Bones, and I forgot my man's name, but he was Sergeant Major, and he came back from war, or came back from going in the military, and just looking at him with his uniform walking, and I was just like, just so disappointed, because you know, at that time I think I was first sergeant or something. I'm just like, come on, their advisors got to be better than that. So that's mine. All right, you got one more you want to throw out there, or you good?
I'm good. I'm sure it'll come up. So, okay, so how do these misconceptions affect veterans' reintegration into civilian life? How do you think that?
I think I sort of touched on it. I just don't. And it's not a civilian's responsibility to know everything about the military. But if you're hiring somebody and they come in and they say they were a staff sergeant or they were a sergeant first class, I just hope, all right, I don't believe that most do, but I hope that they can do a little research or ask about what that means, instead of just, all right, lumping them, they were a sergeant. All right, and then they have the basic TV definition of sergeant. That's how I think the reintegration into the civilian life. I think that's where it's a little messed up, because we are thankful for the people who are thankful for our service, right? But at the same time, be more than thankful. Just try to. Just research just a little bit. You don't, like I said, don't expect you to know all the regs, but just look at the rank structure. And if you Google Army, Air Force, or what have you, rank structure, and whatever rank structure, what was it? Rank structure, and I'm going to have to cut this out because I can't remember what it was. But anyway, 3, 2, 1. Just Google the military rank structure and then ask, how long should it take for someone to achieve that rank? And then you can see the
like a life cycle.
Yeah, you can see the time and effort and the expectations that go into achieving those ranks all the way up.
Because they're different between the Army and Air Force and
all the rank
Navy.
branches,
I mean, everybody has their. I mean, they're similar, but they're different.
Yeah, same pay grade, but the rank structure is just a little different because of history, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, what aspects of the military? Did you answer?
No.
Oh, my bad. No, go ahead. I just see you talking too much.
Nah, I mean, it's. I think you said it probably in the initial question. Is like the misconceptions are that that it's hard for us to find jobs, after we get out and we're trying to, not, and that's not true, because a lot of our jobs that we have are equivalent to civilian jobs, civilian jobs on the outside. So where the problem that we have is just translating our job descriptions into the civilian, getting the wording and
Right.
things right, so
Let
that
people familiar.
people understand
Yep.
what we actually do. Because we could have a job title as, the left screw whip the bob or
Yeah.
whatever, and that's a welder and
Right.
on the outside, and just trying to make sure that we get our learning to translate our jobs and our job descriptions and titles
Yeah.
into the civilian
Yeah,
side.
language.
So that's
Yeah.
it. Yep.
And let me go back for a minute. Another thing is not all homeless people are veterans.
No.
That's another one that gets me.
No.
I know there are veterans out there. And back to what Lance was saying, people, period, have trouble getting into a job field and sustaining that. For instance, if you served in the military, right, and you went through that process and say you ended up getting chaptered out, that chapter is going to cause problems for you in the civilian life when it comes to getting a job.
Yep.
Right. So that could be a reason why they don't have a job immediately.
Yep.
Then you do have PTSD and mental health,
Yep.
because when you go down range and you're in that combat environment, I already said it, we can't express how much it changes your whole life, your whole being. Right. And so when you come back, that may not be able to, or might be able to get a job, or there are lazy people in the military.
Yeah, it's bad apples. It's bad apples everywhere, So
Exactly.
it's just unfortunate that can't say that's unfortunate, but it's unfortunate that we get them sometimes too. And when they get out, then it's just
They have the same lack of energy they had while they were in.
Yeah, it's just heightened because it's like, oh, you were in the military, because that's not the shit. You might have to cut this too. I'm trying to get my words right. That's not what's expected.
Okay.
If someone
3,
that's in the
2, 1.
So that's not what's expected of somebody that's been in the military. Because people think that since you've been in the military, that you're disciplined, you're squared away.
Yeah.
Just all of those things that the majority, 99.9% of us are tracking. But then we do have, just like they do on the civilian sector, have people that are just hurting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, they keep coming in my head, right? And not everybody in the military likes other people in the military.
No.
It's just like society in the civilian world. There are people that get along. Now, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. We all have a bond for serving. I won't say a bond. We have a connection by serving.
But
now,
that's another one too, though, right there, is that everybody thinks that if you in the military, that everything is this patriotism and it's the heroes
over the top.
Yeah, I mean that you're it's super patriotic.
Yeah.
I just got to, and a lot of people get into it because they want to learn a new skill.
Right.
They're had an opportunity to try to start a career and make a little money and get a start.
That's
get
my testimony.
It's a lot of. I'm sure you all out there have a lot of have more than what we're saying or have experienced some other ones.
Right, and I tell you, if you retired from the military, that's the one thing I'll stand on and say you're proud of your service and you're proud of what you achieved.
Yep.
Now, does that mean that you walk out of the house every day with a U.S. flag on your chest, or you stomping around, letting everybody know on Facebook and Instagram that USA, USA? It doesn't mean that, but you can't take away from someone who served and gave everything but their life for the country, but you can't take away and get mad at them if they don't have a flag on their house.
That's right, because this is a volunteer service.
And you learn a lot. Yep. You learn a lot serving. All right.
Yep.
So we'll move on.
Yep.
Those were just sticking in my in my tooth. All right. So what aspects of military life are most understood? And I keep answering the question.
Yeah, I mean,
Go
I think
ahead.
I think one probably is that we are constantly moving everywhere, and that's not absolutely true. I mean, we move a lot, and you have some folks in some of the different services that don't move at all a lot of times. I mean, you have some,
Homestead.
yeah, I mean, you have some in the, even in the Army, in the medical profession that some of these doctors and surgeons that when they had their residencies and fellowships and stuff, that we only have like a couple of hospitals that can actually support what they do. So if we have people that have been in place for 15 years, 20, I mean, they might do, 15 of their 20 years at one place, because that's just where they're best utilized. But I know like the Air Force, they don't, a lot of times they wouldn't move as much. They're moving more now than what they previously had. But you have some, I mean, it just depends on what your job is, what the need is. And a lot of times I remember when I was, early in my career, it was like, okay, I mean, especially for me and my wife, it was like, okay, we need to try to find some place that we can both, have opportunity to lead or do something. So sometimes it's your, you can try to make it your choice to move, but it's not. I mean, we don't have to move.
So often.
Yeah, so often.
But I will say, in the enlisted, when I was serving and then on my way out,
That's different.
the military, the Army specifically, was really focusing on not letting people homestead, trying to because you got to remember, right, to be a well-rounded leader, you have to experience different things. You can't just stay in one specific area and become a master of leadership if you've never, say for instance, you served your whole career, 20 years in the U.S., then you don't have a taste of what it's like to live outside of the country. Say you spent your whole career never deployed, then you don't have a full understanding of what a deployment is, so, and that doesn't mean you can't lead, right? Because leadership is about the mission, and whatever your mission is, that's what you should be an expert about or expert on. But you do receive new people all the time.
Yep.
And you have to be able to understand, or at least have empathy, and also try and relate. It's hard to try to relate, but relate to your subordinates. And so that's why usually the best leaders are the ones that experience almost every level. That's why a private, when you come into the military, you are literally have no responsibilities but to show up and wake up. That's literally your responsibilities, right? But then by the time you're a Sergeant E5, your responsibilities are the basic stuff you learn. That's not what people focus on. Now it's about learning how to counsel soldiers, learning how to motivate, learning how to train and develop, and learn how to communicate both down the rank structure and up. So
you want to be well rounded. You want to try to
Absolutely.
make yourself as well rounded as possible,
Yeah.
and depending on what your job is, will help shape that.
yeah,
And another, one more thing is before before
I
you
talk,
start running your mouth.
before I get a chance
That's
to say
right.
something.
Yeah, is that I think one of the other things that everybody. I mean, I've had in the past people think that we all had to live on post,
Yeah,
and that's not true either. I mean, we had to live on post when we were at I think my first duty assignment, because that's what made
officer
sense.
side.
Yeah, that's what made sense for us to live
They
on.
got all the monies.
No. You especially don't have no money when you first starting off. Don't believe that. Don't believe that at all.
You got more than a private.
Yeah, probably a
You
little
know what I'm
bit.
saying?
A little bit.
Yeah. Enlisted wins again. We're poor.
Yeah, you
That's
got.
a win.
I'm not going with you. I'm not going to fight you.
Let me
with
retract
that
that statement.
You
We
got-
don't win.
Shoot, you made me
Living
lose my
on
thing.
post?
Yeah, living on post. So yeah, so if you're at a remote place, then sometimes it makes sense for you to try to look, because I was stationed at Fort Irwin, and Fort Irwin, if anybody's been there, you know that it's 40 miles from the nearest town, which is Barstow. So it made sense, and I had to live on post because I was one or two OR nurses in the hospital. So we had to be there for emergencies and the whatnot. So everybody doesn't have to live on post. We get a housing stipend that you can find a place, live in the community. So
agreed.
Yeah.
And then what aspects of military life are most misunderstood? I would say a few. We talked about it a little bit, but the decision to join the military is a plethora of reasons. I mean, there's thousands of reasons. As some matter of fact, there's two people sitting right here, and there's two different reasons, right? So I joined because I really didn't have a direction in my life after I quit my stint in school at college. And so I was like, I'm sitting here, as we say in the military, marking time, meaning staying in one place instead of taking that left foot forward and going and doing something. And that's what I did. I stopped standing still after I quit my stint in college. And then I took a step forward and joined the military. And then, Lance's situation was, college scholarship, going to.
It was a money thing. It was money, financial, something to help pay for school, so that it wasn't putting a burden on my family to have to try to foot that bill. So,
but another aspect of that is when he went to ROTC and then had a responsibility to the Army. He had a decision to make. He could have either gone 4 years, gone straight to the Army, active duty, and made it quick, which he did, or he could have not served active duty and been in the reserve for 8 years, right? So even his decision to go 4 was not because of patriotism and all that. It was because of a decision that he made for himself, which ended up being 29 years of service, honorable service, and achieving the rank of colonel. So just because you don't join because you're bleeding red, white, and blue doesn't mean that you don't develop that love for what you do, that love for what your country, especially when you're representing your country in other countries or deploying to war and having to win that fight for your country. That really comes through. So that aspect, I think, is a little different. Another aspect is that you're a 100% physically fit champion once you join the military. Yeah, there's people that love to run that are civilians, and people that love to sit on the couch and hate running that are civilians. We have
people that have those struggles with weight.
The same thing, absolutely.
Yeah, so.
But in the military, you have to meet physical fitness standards. You have to achieve those standards.
It's part of your job.
100%. And if you don't, then the Army has ways of trying to rehab you and then kicking you out, right? And the only way that works, because I remember back in the day, there used to be a bunch of memes with fat soldiers on there or fat airmen or whatever. It's leadership that holds people accountable to maintaining the standards that are in the military. And that's in all areas, but specifically what I'm talking about is physical fitness. So those are a couple aspects. We could go on and on, but the bottom line is we're not all G.I. Joe.
No, everybody didn't deploy. Everybody didn't deploy, hasn't deployed. Everybody's not a combat veteran out there.
Ooh, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, everybody hasn't deployed, or everybody's not a combat veteran,
or POW, or
any
Purple Heart.
Yeah, so I mean it's So
there are things.
Yeah. Okay, hey Tommie, how can civilians better support and understand veterans? What do you think?
I think the best way to better support and understand veterans are the simple way is when you say thank you to a veteran, actually try to have a conversation with the veteran. And that conversation with the veteran, let them do most of the talking. Don't, I call it fangirling, but I don't mean it in a negative way. But don't go up to a veteran and say, "Hey, you ever been deployed? Or, what's it like being in Afghanistan? Or have you ever killed anybody?"
Mm-hmm.
Those aren't the questions that we like to hear. We like to hear, thank you for your service. How are you enjoying the military? And let them talk.
Mm-hmm.
Let them say, I'm enjoying it or I'm not, or whatever they say. Let them educate you on their experience.
Yeah.
Right. That's one
And
way.
a lot of times it can really lead to not even talking about the military
Absolutely.
and talking about
life,
life,
yeah, and building
sports,
friendships.
anything, anything else. I mean that initial fascination or curiousness of
curiosity, yeah.
and you'll get that. I mean, because if you get to know a veteran, I mean the stories and all of that, it'll come out, and some of them are hilarious, and some of them are like, man, you didn't have to tell me that.
Some of them
I
will
was
keep you
good.
awake at night.
Yeah, I'm good. I was good with that.
Yeah, and then a more difficult way, not difficult, but another option that's more serious is look at charities and research the charity and see if you can maybe financially or volunteer to help veterans, because I'm gonna tell you the stress that soldiers go through, and then you throw on top of that combat, then you throw on top of that getting shot at or having to shoot at some people or having to kill someone, or you're losing your best friend right there next to you because the bullet decided to find them and not you. That stuff is real.
Mm-hmm.
And when soldiers come back, when veterans come back, when military people come back from deployment, some people just, because they don't have that foundation of support, or because what they experienced is just so traumatic to them that it's completely knocked them off of who they were, that stuff is real. And so volunteering in a way that can have or help a veteran is another way that you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What about you?
I mean, same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's try to not look at especially like we talked about some seeing homeless folks out there, and it's like, I'm a vet. They have signs saying I'm a veteran. I mean, it's just to understand. Some of those folks have gone through some things, and to not look down on them.
Mm-hmm.
Right from the get. I mean, because people have hard times. People come on hard times, and they just need a little help. So so like trying to donate to not to the Goodwills and the Salvation Armies, but to some of the different veterans charities and things like that. That actually give the things to the veterans directly, and don't make them pay for them. Is one of the good things, and just listening. I think is probably one of the biggest things. Just listening to folks when they're talking to you, or when they're coming to try to get a job interview, or just in your community, your neighbor or whatever,
And I will say, and then on the flip side of that, there are people out there that lie about their service. Yeah. There are people that lie about even serving ever. Yeah. People that lie about deploying ever. So
they take advantage of
absolutely. And I'm not trying to dime out veterans. I'm not trying to call civilians what do you call it, silly. Yeah. I'm just saying that every story you'll find, once you meet the person and get to know the person, you'll find the truth in it.
I mean, because I know for me, I'm talking about for me, is that I don't need folks to. I don't expect folks and need folks to come and tell me thank you, or any of that stuff because I made the choice to serve. That was my decision.
Yeah.
Only thing I ask is that you respect that. You know, don't come at me complaining, arguing, or trying to say that I'm, you know, I know that back in Vietnam they would call them baby killers and things. Don't come at me like that, you know, unless you have been there and done it.
And still just make it a conversation.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't make it whatever. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, when civilians started thanking us for our service, it caught us off guard when it started happening.
Yeah, it was all the time.
And we never really knew how to respond to it, right? Because you're saying thank you, and then we come back and say, you're welcome? That don't sound right. And then we come back and we say thank you. It's thank you. And then, so my response always was, your kind words are appreciated. That's how I used to always say it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but now, what would you like civilians to know about your military experience, which you sort of touched on a little bit?
I enjoyed being in the military. I mean, just from the.
Let me cut real quick. You want to start over?
Start over.
Yeah, because I keep going on and on. So.
No, that's fine.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's real talk.
Okay.
I mean, it's fine.
Okay.
And I'm I'm interjecting in.
Okay.
When I can.
3, 2, 1. So, what would you like civilians to know about your military experience?
I had a enjoyable time. Yeah. I mean, I loved what I was doing. I loved the training and the schooling and things, because I think that's another thing that civilians, they think that, you know, that all we do is combat training and stuff, and we do a lot
train, go to war. Train, go to war. Oh my goodness,
we do a lot of other training that I was talking to my wife the other day. Well, talking to my son first, and was talking to my wife about some like just basic training that we get when, you know, early in our career. Right. As far as just leadership things. I'm like, do y'all, you know, do y'all have like a leadership class so that everybody knows how to lead and follow? I said, because that's part of being a good leader is knowing how to follow. You got to know how to follow also and listen. So, and she's like, no. I said, so, I said, how about that? I said, so just little things like that. I mean, and that we, you know, just, again, and I worked in an area that was predominantly women. We had guys, but I mean, it's predominantly, you know, nursing in the hospital. I mean, you're around probably a lot more females than you were around. So we do have females in the.
Don't forget, I was logistics. So.
That's true.
Yeah, so
that's true. We do have a lot of females in the military, and they do an outstanding job. And they're a lot of nice looking women. Yeah. You know, we were fortunate enough to marry a couple. Yep, there. So, yeah. I mean, so it was I had a great career. But when it was time to retire, it was time to, you know, something clicked and said, "Hey, man, it's time to hang it up. Time to go." So, and I have no ill feelings or ill will, you know, towards any of my time, you know, served there, my deployments, any of that stuff. It was part of my job, part of my story. So.
Yeah. I would just say that my experience in the military, it's just I fit. You know what I'm saying? The way I was raised and the personality that I had, like I said, I was athletic. I understood how to follow orders because the Joneses were like that. And at the same time, I wanted to shine, right? I wasn't arrogant growing up. Arrogance for me, the term arrogance came when my knowledge started to match my drive, right? And so I would just like people to take away from my experience in the military is I fit and I served because just like you stay in a job for 30 years.
Yep.
I serve because by fitting, this is what I woke up breathing and wanting to do. And I just kept doing it every day for a little over 30 years.
You felt like you were making a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? That's the only
Absolutely.
reason why you
And not really
stay
a
in something
difference
that
in
long.
the world, but I really believe my impact on a lot of soldiers, I think, I would like to think, and I've been told, right? But I would like to think that at a minimum, when they left service with or under my leadership, at a minimum, I just hope that I help them discover a different way for them to be, right,
Yeah.
as a human and as a soldier. Because I held people accountable, I held myself accountable, and I was not very flexible when it came to accountability, because I really believe that accountability meant that you take responsibility for the good that you do as well as you take responsibility for the bad.
Right. Yep.
So a pat on the back was just as strong as me writing it on a piece of paper,
Yep.
because the whole point of that was for you to improve. So when people hear that I did 30 years, they always, wow, that's a long time. But in my mind, it's a job, it's a career. It's
I mean, and it went quick. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like it went quick, but you know, when I
Absolutely.
look in the
Looking
mirror and
back.
I see the gray sparkles in my head and
the,
on my chin,
I think it's
and-
dirt I
yeah,
got.
I mean, it's but you're absolutely correct. It's not making a difference in the world,
Per se, right.
you know. But if you can touch individual,
Absolutely.
that individual is going to touch
Yeah.
somebody. I mean, so it spreads.
Yeah.
You know, it really does. It really does spread because I'm sure that you saw it too, being stationed in different places and working in the working in your field, where people are like, oh, I remember you
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
taught at our, you were in charge of me, you know, and
Yeah.
it's like, man,
Yeah.
you know, I don't need, but okay.
Yeah, because you got to think about the
Yeah.
level. You 30 years, you meet a lot of people,
Yeah.
and most of the people you knew in the beginning aren't there,
No.
right? So that means you're meeting new people all the time,
Mhm.
and so, but my whole drive when it came to leadership in the military was trying to get my subordinates to see that if they can commit to this choice that they made,
Mhm.
and then they can execute and learn and show that drive, they can be successful.
Yep.
And even when I talk to civilians always say to me, I could have never served in the military. And I always say this,
Okay,
it's not true.
Yeah. Get
You
done it.
absolutely could have, but it would have taken you to adjust. And if you couldn't adjust in your mind because you never served, you adjusted for the job you're doing now.
It's just like anything. Yeah, I mean, it is, because you see military folks or veterans that go out and get civilian jobs,
Yeah.
and they have to adjust
That's
to
100% to the new way
the
of
new
doing
way
things.
of
Yeah.
doing things, you know. So
And basic training, being a soldier in basic training and being a drill sergeant in basic training, I will say that basic training is the opportunity. Being a drill sergeant there was 3 goals I had in the military, right? One was to become college educated. 2 was to be a drill sergeant. 3 was to be a first sergeant. I touched all of those, right? And so, but when I went back to be a drill sergeant, the thing that I was a senior drill sergeant, which means I was the lead drill sergeant in the company. My whole thing with those drill sergeants while I was serving was the opportunity we have now to help these soldiers understand what they volunteered to do.
reshaping.
Absolutely. And then give them the knowledge and the know-how to be successful. That is what our whole focus was for my 3 years as a drill sergeant. And I'm going to tell you something, every day, even when I was mad at them, even though when it was funny, even though whatever, any soldier I ever trained in basic training, they will come back and tell you that I tried my best to set them up for success in the military by answering questions and providing them with information that I already had.
Yep.
And that was such an honor. And the only honor that came close to that was being a first sergeant and being able to influence senior leaders as well as subordinate leaders and soldiers. That was it. And the worst thing is, not everybody is willing to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And the sad part is when you have to discipline somebody because of their failure to adjust, then that's one of those things that I was unapologetic towards because I always felt that I did everything I could to set soldiers up for success.
Mm-hmm.
But and now retired, I'm just like Lance. I will not bring up I was in the military unless somebody comes up and brings it out of me, or if Nikki, my wife, throws it out there, because I am okay with my service. I am okay with and like he said, I don't have any regrets. I don't have any anger towards the military or the Army or any of the presidents I served under,
Mm-hmm.
because I know I was always looking behind me instead of worrying about who was above me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of those things that, please understand, my experience was valued and enjoyed and appreciated. And I am the man I am now because of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Please understand this. Society is no different outside of the military than inside the military. Yep. There are
a few more
thieves.
Yeah.
There are liars. There are great people. There are heroes. All of that on
Yep.
both sides of that line, which means we're all human. Yep. Ta-da. So, but when the uniform comes off, go ahead.
Yes, and it's a lot more civilians out there than there are folks in the military.
Absolutely. So, but civilians, we still need you. All right?
Absolutely.
So the uniform comes off, but the misunderstandings, sometimes they stay on. The
real goal, respect the experience, even if you never lived it.
Yeah, and thank you for walking through it with us. Goodness, this was 4 titles, 1 truth. Stick with us. We've got more to say.
Let's keep the conversation going, y'all.
All right now.
All right, peace.